Okay, the first demo that I want to go ahead and do for you guys is an application that we call Interesting Photos. So what this application does, and what's interesting about it, is it makes a web service called a Flickr to retrieve the most interesting photos on Flickr. Right, so we've all seen the interesting photos pages, right? The things that get the most ratings, all that. So now we want to show those in a kind of a cool JavaFX GUI here. So there's a couple things we want to demonstrate. The first thing I want to demonstrate, let me go ahead and just run the application so that you guys can see it and get an idea of what we're talking about here. So go ahead and run this project. And right away we're going to see all these pictures getting loaded from Flickr here, right? So we saw them all loading up. We saw our progress bar flash across there briefly. And so now if I click one of these photos, I can see it does a nice fade in, preserves the aspect ratio here. And I can click on the different buttons and see we have these nice glow effects and cool animations there. Cute little baby, right? So what's nice about this is that this code right here that I've written can run on multiple screens, right? So I've used pretty much the common JavaFX profile here. So if I go ahead and tell my application that instead of running it standardly, I want to run it, say, in the mobile emulator, let's go ahead and try that. So now I'm going to run this. Instead of running in my standard execution, it should open in our mobile emulator here. Okay. So there we go. We see basically the identical application running on a mobile device, right? So we see some differences. If I click on one of these, we see we didn't have as smooth of a fade or the opacity change like that, right? It just kind of jumped on there, but that's just because of the way the effects that this device supports, right? So this is cool. We wrote the same code. We can run it on our desktop. We can run it on our mobile application. And of course, eventually we could run it on our TV once we get there. But now what we want to do is actually show this how we can run it in a web page as well. So if I go to my properties and change this to run in a browser, we're going to see something else we can do with this, which is interesting. Okay, so go ahead and trust that. Try not to do that in the actual demo. Let's run it again. Okay, so now we see this is running in a browser. And we see because the application was written to detect the canvas size, it actually expanded this and gave us some higher resolution graphics. So now we can see this running in the browser. And then what we can do is if we wanted to, we could actually drag this out of the browser. So go ahead and I've moved it out of the browser here, right? And now I can minimize the browser. I could even close the browser, and our application is still running. So not bad, huh? We also get this shortcut on our desktop. We have the option of creating this, which will allow us to launch the application directly from there. So we wouldn't have to open a browser or anything. So see, this is still working. Still loading more images from Flickr. If I go down here. Okay. Go all the way to the end. Okay. Alright, so let's look at the code real quickly. First of all, we see that I have this main effects file, and the main thing I want to show you here is how we make that web service call. So we see right away we have our Flickr API key, and if I jump down here to my load image metadata, what we see is we're creating this HTTP request. It's going to get the interesting photo list, and then when we're done with that, we go ahead and use this photo pull parser to parse the data, create our photo objects, and insert these into our photo array, which we use to display the actual images. Right? So here we have the images for our lower resolution, same images but a higher resolution. Our photo model, right? So this is your first look at some JavaFX code here. We have this just plain photo class, right? Pretty simple. Our parser, which does the parsing of our data. And then all these are related to our view. So pretty simple JavaFX application, but it does some cool things. You get to see animation, you got to see how we're making web service calls, and you also get to see how we can use the same code on many different screens and without changing any of the code, have it run on a mobile device, a web browser, or a standard application.